In today's world of high-speed connection, text messaging, and social networking, we often find ourselves searching for information. There are millions of blogs on the internet. News, sports, politics, and tech. But I bring it all together for you and present it in a relentlessly unconventional fashion. My name is Zennie Abraham, and this is the Blog Report. It's time now for politics. I'm in Alameda to vote, actually, today on January 10th. And you would say, vote? Isn't the election over? Well, that election's over, but really, this election for the delegates for the 16th and the 14th district in California is really where politics begins. This is right where you are voting for people to represent your areas in the state of California in the matters of the Democratic Party elections and the activities of your elected officials in state government. So here we go. Hey, is this for everybody?
Huh? Are you hungry?
Starving. I'm gonna. Yeah. Okay, cool. This is great. All right, cool.
You don't eat. That's your fault.
I'm gonna vote first, then I'll be right back.
You gotta vote for the bald-headed guy, Dan.
You got it. I'm gonna vote first. I'll be right back.
That guy right there.
Hey, Dan, talk to me for my video about.
Hey, what's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent. This is my Oakland Focus video. Tell people about why you're running, why it's important for them to vote and get involved.
Because we need good labor, progressive Democrats in the 16th Assembly District. We need diversity. We need our labor union people represented. I'm with the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 5. We're the only union-endorsed slate today. And we're here to represent our members as best we can. And the best way to do that is for us to get involved in the democratic process so that our members and all working people can thrive.
And you're Dan Rush.
I'm Dan Rush.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, brother.
I'll begin. You're one of the persons running for a delegate. Tell my viewers why it's important. It seems like a meaningless election to people around the country, but tell them why they're wrong.
Well, it's not a meaningless election because this is locally, we are the activists that help shape the Democratic Party. And without the input of regular folks getting involved, this is the entry point for folks to get involved and really shape the party. Our party sometimes, I think, lacks the disconnect between what's happening at the local level with local governments, local issues, and what's shaped at the state party. So we really need to have that nexus between both of those.
Thanks, man. Sure.
Hi, yes, my name is Frida Ajette, and I'm running to be a delegate to the California Democratic Party. I think it's really, really important, if this previous election cycle has taught us anything, is that there is a role and a place and a responsibility for young people to become more engaged in the political process. We need more young people represented within the party. We're the ones that are very literally invested in fixing our broken budget system, in fixing education, making sure that Iraqi veterans have comprehensive psychiatric and physical treatments, because we're the ones that are going to need to pick up the messes in the future. So I'm president of the East Bay Young Democrats. I'm a co-founder and co-organizer of Mix It Up East Bay, which brings young leaders and networkers from different issue backgrounds together to discuss and motivate toward policy change. And I'm really enthused by the turnout here. It's all about getting out the vote, and it all starts local. So
What
thanks.
happens after this? What's the next step after this election is done?
So the next step is that those individuals that are elected as delegates, so essentially representatives of their assembly district, go back, caucus, and determine the platform by which the party will prioritize issues that they want to work on in upcoming years. And it also acts as a rubric and litmus test for candidates that seek the party's endorsement. So delegates do have a lot of potential power in determining that agenda, as well as holding our elected officials accountable.
On the state level.
On the state level as well as the federal level.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Esperanza, tell me why you're running and why this is important to you.
So I am born and raised in Oakland. I'm an Oakland native and really feel like this is a moment in history where we have an opportunity as people of color from low-income communities to be a part of something larger and to really make sure that working families and people in my community have a voice at the table and are able to influence the platform and the policies that Democrats and the Democratic Party put forth at every level of the system. And so we just wanted to make sure that we had full representation and people who really have connections to the community, and we are from the community and of the community. We want to make sure that the input from the community goes back to the party, and that the information from the party goes back to the community. So we wanted to make sure that those voices and feelings were represented. So Jakota, Imani, and I are running for Assembly District Delegate. And we're really excited to have Sanjay Swanson's endorsement.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
He's the assemblyman, right?
He is. He's the assembly member for Assembly District 16, which is where we're running. We also have the support of Keith Carson, Chris Worthington, city councilman out of Berkeley, and BWAPA, Black Women Organized for Political Action. So it's been a really interesting race and an interesting time to run, and our community is excited about this opportunity. So a lot of the folks who are coming out to vote for us today are a part of the social justice movement in Oakland, and so they're people who would not otherwise be engaged with this process. And so it's a really good opportunity for those folks to understand what the processes are in the Democratic Party and to come out and have a voice. And so we're excited about that.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Cool. There we go. All right. Joel Freed and Adam Robbie. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Joel Freed and Adam Robbie. You guys are delegates. You're running?
Delegate candidates.
Delegate candidates. I'm being optimistic. Why are you running?
You want to go first, Adam?
Well, I'm running. I'm kind of new to this end of the political arena, but this last election and this last this last political process has kind of opened my eyes to how I can personally change the world that's around me. And it's since I live and work in Oakland, I'm a firefighter with the Oakland Fire Department. I see how politics affects people in the daily life, and how little things that the government is doing can make or break someone's existence. And I want to be a part of it.
Well, I'm Joel Freed, and I'm running for delegate because I want to make the Democratic Party more progressive, open to labor and young people, seniors, people of color, people from diverse backgrounds. I also support John Burton for state party chair because he has the intelligence and strong record of being inclusive and opening up the party and winning elections. After all, that's what Obama and Biden showed in the November election when my former classmate Barack Obama retook the White House for Democrats. That showed the anti-Bush backlash and that we can move forward and bring progressive values to our national, state, and local governments. And that's what I want to do as a delegate. Thank you.
All right. Now, I want to get you guys together and talk to you. What do you think about the Oakland the shooting and the riot situation, the elected official response?
I think it's terrible, and I think that there needs to be more investigation about that.
Yeah.
So,
I think as far as the elected official's response, I think it was, quite frankly, kind of pathetic. And I think that we in Oakland have a history of being reactionary politicians and reactionary people. People need to be more proactive in how things are dealt with. And I also think most of the people that were doing the damage in Oakland were not from Oakland. They were not Oakland residents. They had no fight with BART police or OPD. They were people here looking for an opportunistic. They were looking for an opportunity to break things, and that needs to be dealt with because the people who really were affected by this, I think, were hurt and are still in pain, and they wanted to deal with it in a better way than the people who were breaking things.
So who won? Who are your group of California Democratic Party delegates? For the women, Ronnie Kaplane, Alice Freed, Frida Ajet, Sumi Panoram Jabi, Esperanza Terravandumont, Tara Merchant Wilson. For the men, Mark Briggs, Joel Freed, Abel Gann, Wayne Nishota, Dan Rush, and Jakota Imani. Congratulations to everyone.
Folks, we'll be right back with more from the Vloggers Street.
I'm Zennie
Abraham, and you're watching Colors TV. It's time now for news.
Hi, everybody. If you know about politics and economics, then you know about Paul Krugman. But if you don't, here's a refresher, a brief one. Krugman is the decorated professor of economics, primarily at Princeton, and he goes from time to time to the London School of Economics. He's taught at MIT, Berkeley, and a number of schools. But in 2008, Krugman hit the intellectual jackpot. He was awarded the coveted Nobel Prize in economics for his theory of two-country trade, basically saying that countries with like goods will basically consume those goods. So that if you have Germany, which makes BMWs, then Germans will also buy Cadillacs. And on the other hand, the United States, which makes Cadillacs, will also buy BMWs. Pretty simple, huh? Well, that's Krugman's contribution. But it doesn't make Professor Krugman an expert in the Treasury, or for that matter, troubled banks. And yet he's more than waded into this discussion. He's dove in from on high with full force. The result has led to what is the most intellectually sloppy set of blog posts I've ever seen from an economist in my entire life. Specifically, Krugman attacks the Troubled Assets Relief Program from the perspective that, first of all, the government should not essentially subsidize these bad assets. The idea of this program is that if you're an investor, you can actually go to the government and get them to give you a non-recourse loan of about 85% of the troubled assets that we're talking about. Now, Krugman doesn't want that loan to happen. But what Krugman doesn't explain in any of his blog posts is what the alternative should be. If you read Krugman's posts, he's essentially saying, look, a bad asset is a bad asset. But the trouble is that these bad assets are arguably causing banks not to give out credit. So what better way to take them off the books than to provide some investment relief for those who would buy these troubled assets? They are troubled assets. Otherwise, they continue to be losses on a bank's ledger, and it doesn't help the situation. Now, Krugman's point is, look, if the government spends all this money and it doesn't work, then the taxpayer is basically SOL. But here's the problem. If that system, that proposal, were standalone, as opposed to part of the myriad number of proposals and policies that have already been launched by the administration in the form of the stimulus package, as well as different aspects of the TARP program, I would agree with him. But it's not the only part of a large array of measures we need to take to improve our economy. In this case, we need to make sure the banks are solvent so that as the president's job growth program grows, people who previously lost their jobs would get jobs and then be able to afford loans from banks. In other words, be able to afford to hold credit. That's how the system fits together. Now, in my opinion, the missing link from the program should be a $3,500 give to each American taxpayer at or under $100,000. I think that would be the coup de grace that would end our bad economic times like that. And it would give enough time for the various aspects of the president's overall policy system to go to work. I think that's the missing link. But back to Krugman. Krugman is so bent on criticizing the Obama administration, perhaps because he wasn't selected as chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, that he steps over himself. For example, he writes that the administration argues that there's no subsidy involved, and that he claims the administration says that the government does not assume risk. But that is completely 180 degrees different than what Tim Geithner said on Monday, March 23rd. He did agree and did state that the government assumes a lot of risk. So did Christine Romer, who also works with Geithner, and she's on the President's Council of Economic Advisors. So Krugman is so interested in being a critic that his normally powerful intellectual engine has shut down, and the only reason why you're hearing about it is because, or it being Krugman's argument, is because the people at stations like MSNBC are not economists and think, well, he got the Nobel Prize, so he must know what he's talking about in this situation. My argument is that he doesn't. In this case, I think Krugman needs to take a step back, really look at the program, both its positives and negatives, and if he doesn't like it, come up with an alternative plan of his own, because he hasn't done that at all.
Folks, we'll be right back with more from the Blogosphere.
It's time now for sports. Hey everybody. You've probably heard that Alex Rodriguez admitted that he used steroids in 2003 and perhaps between 2001 and 2003 when he was with the Texas Rangers. Now everyone's blaming A-Rod, making fun of him, having him use a huge syringe as a bat, as I believe the New York Post and New York Daily News have done. But I blame Major League Baseball. This is another example of how players were used to advance ratings and revenues for Major League Baseball during a period I call the golden age of the home run, from 1994 all the way up to 2005. Let me show you what I mean. This chart, home run history, illustrates what I'm talking about. It shows this graph, which basically starts at 1901, the 1, and it goes all the way through over 100 years of history. This is 1992, for example, where we have at 92 the beginning of the end of a rather low comparative home run total for Major League Baseball. Zoop. All the way up to where? All the way up to just around 2004, right here. Alright, see that? Look, now take this in total, alright? You've got this gradual but steady increase, and then all of a sudden, this dramatic increase. A gradual but steady increase here, and then a dramatic increase here. That's the era that I'm talking about. From 1994, the baseball strike, all the way up to 2005. This ends at 2007. Look at this. That chart shows the reason why I hold Major League Baseball and not Alex Rodriguez responsible. In his interview with Peter Gammons, Alex Rodriguez came very close to implicating the culture of baseball itself. Then he stopped and said, and he didn't say anything at all. The simple fact of the matter is that Major League Baseball, from the commissioner on down, was complicitous in encouraging the use of steroids. And unfortunately, the Mitchell report really didn't get to the bottom of the matter. It saved the commissioner. A real study that points fingers without prejudice has not been done and needs to be done. Think of what occurred during the era that I just showed you. We had not just A-Rod playing for the Texas Rangers, but we had the famous home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, as well as Barry Bonds' historic and dramatic home run ascension. All of that occurred during that period, and it wasn't accidental. Why? Because you had growing cable channel coverage, searching for events to cover baseball, and then sponsors throwing money at baseball through television, specifically cable. A dramatic growth in cable television channels and sponsorship money from different corporations towards sports occurred all during that time. What do they want to see in return? They wanted to be entertained, they being the sponsors and they being us. And what was the entertainment we got? Home runs. So don't blame just A-Rod. I think you should start looking at the commissioner and baseball itself.
It's time now for tech.
Well, today is Monday, March 23rd, and I'm headed to the Game Developers Conference, which is an annual event for game developers in San Francisco. Am I a game developer? Yes, on top of being media. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey everybody, thanks for checking us in. Hey, how you doing? Yeah.
So I'm now at the Game Developer Conference, and yeah, I made it after everything else that I did, but I got them all signed in. So yeah. Right? The keynote, right?
Pardon?
Is that the keynote?
No, it's not.
It's the keynote. It's 2002. That's where we're going.
You know, I don't care like.
Now, the first time I was at this event, I went to every party imaginable. That's not going to be the case this time. Well, you never know. Well, I also never know who I'm going to run into at these damn things.
About the next generation and the generation after that, growing up gamers, and what a difference that's going to make for...
So we just finished this first keynote, and it's on how game developers can basically influence the world around them, the trends in game development that are really influencing, in some cases, hundreds or thousands of people. Jane gave several examples. For example, not just examples related to crowdsourcing, but additional examples of people using games like, for example, the Nike shoe that allows you to record your run and then put it up on your computer screen, where it's kind of a biofeedback mechanism where on a personal level you're actually controlling your output. But on a much larger scale, she talked about people that are building games that cause others to collaborate in video games. But the missing piece is how we get people to do that en masse in the real world. And I'm advancing the idea that, in one sense, in politics, we do that by when the president says visit recovery.gov or the websites associated with the Obama for America, Organizing for America campaign that's ongoing. So it opens up some large implications, and we're going to be interviewing Jay McGonigal soon.
Ian, thanks for your time. Ian Spivey, a bootstrapper. Tell me about the product and how the conference is going for you.
Well, I'm actually doing a lot of Facebook development, like MMOs on Facebook, and so this conference has been really good. Although it's really interesting to see the difference between the traditional casual gaming environment and the online casual gaming. I've gotten a lot more out of the MMO sessions than I have out of the casual gaming sessions, which has been a bit of a surprise.
What's the difference primarily?
Casual gaming is still dominated by the folks who've been doing it for a very long time, who were doing downloadable games, free-to-play, shareware, that kind of stuff, or flash online games like the real arcade guys. And on Facebook, people are a lot more focused on MMO, social-based games with very different monetization strategy, not shareware, which is try then buy, but virtual currencies and advertising.
You would think that they would want shareware on Facebook. Not the case.
Well, simply because there's not there's not much of a facility on the Facebook platform to actually buy an application. So people have had to be more creative in terms of how to extract money from users. And so that's led to to getting people to buy items or getting them to buy things in a game. Which is a very different model.
Is the recession affecting this from your point of view?
It's certainly affecting advertising revenues, so anyone who's dependent on advertising, which is a lot of folks on Facebook, are seeing less money on it.
Yeah, I wondered, did you see like TechCrunch article on advertising?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're playing to the crowd to some extent. I don't think it's as bad as TechCrunch would make it out to be, but it's definitely worse. It's a lot worse than it's been.
I know we both want to drink beer, but hey, thanks a lot.
Definitely.